What's up, guys? This is Dennis with 21 Grams. We're going to start a 3-part series today going over the Beveler set for the leather tattooling machine. This is the first video in that 3-part series. Today we're going to dive into the small beveler. It's the most precise and versatile. This tip is great for beveling small details, thick outlining, and filling in small areas. So let's get started. Let's begin with setting up your tattooling machine properly. First, you're going to take your small beveler set and you're going to drop it directly into your machine. Drop it down, then a quarter turn clockwise, and this will lock it in. Now let's talk about needle depth. At the top of your machine, you're going to have a twist on your grip. This grip is going to extend the needle or seat the needle. This is a way that you're going to be able to fine-tune your tip. The amount of needle that is shown is going to determine the depth of the needle when you're doing your tooling on your leather. Now that the machine is set up, let's prepare your leather. Just like traditional tooling, you're going to want to make sure that your leather is nice and cased exactly how you would if you were doing this the traditional way. But this is not the traditional way. You don't want your leather soaking wet. You just want it enough to soften it as well as make it responsive to the beveling tool. This allows the beveling tip to smoothly push into the surface, creating clean lines and depth. For the small beveler, I recommend setting your machine to 7 volts. This gives a perfect balance of control and power. Lower voltage equals less aggressive impact. Higher voltage equals faster, deeper impressions. At 7 volts, the beveler works efficiently without digging too deep into your leather. The small beveler is incredible for fine detail work. First, let's use it with a thin liner tip to see what kind of details we can achieve. Notice how crisp and sharp these lines are. The small size lets you get into tight spaces without overworking the leather. This is great for intricate designs, feathering, and small textures. Now let's talk about how your hand position affects the beveling. Holding the machine at a steep angle is going to create a narrow, deep bevel. Holding it flat against the surface will create a wider, shallower beveler. This is where personal technique comes in, experimenting with angles to get the look that you want. Now let's see how this tip works with a traditional swivel knife. I say traditional, but this isn't traditional either. This is a tattoo style swivel knife. First, cut a few lines using the swivel knife. Then use the small beveler along the cuts to push down on one side, creating depth and creating your bevel. Now let's talk about filling in large areas. Even though this is the smallest beveler, it can still be used to fill in background areas. By moving it in small, circular motions, you can create a soft shading effect. This is useful for adding depth and texture without hard lines. By tilting it slightly and making a slow, steady pass, you can create bold outlines. This is perfect for giving designs a more graphic and defined edge. Alright, that wraps up the deep dive for the small beveling tip. We've learned that it's great for details, useful for beveling and outlining, and even works as a shading tool. In the next video, we'll go over the medium beveler tip. This creates even more speed and more control. If you found this useful, please stay tuned for part 2 in this series, as well as sharing this with one of your friends. Until next time, I am Dennis with 21 Grams, and we'll see you in the next video.